Hi, boys and girls. Today we're on the last part of lesson 1. Finally, this was a long lesson just because we're just getting into introducing all of the different landforms and bodies of water. So I need to introduce it to you and make sure you know them before we can go on to the next step and kind of identify, oh, that's a mountain, that's a plateau, that's a peninsula. So it's really important that we know what these landforms and bodies of water are and what they look like. So let's do a little review before we learn about the next two. And they're going to be our last two that we talk about. First, we learned about mountains. I would love for you guys right now to show me what a mountain would look like with your hands. A mountain. Mountain is a large landform that rises high above any other ground around it. So if I said this was the grass, I'm going to add a little bit to the drawing. Here's the land right by it. This is some grass. A mountain is high above the grass. So it goes high. Mountains are often very wavy and bumpy, and it has a lot of rocks on it, so they're hard to climb. But that's what a mountain is. A plateau is very similar to a mountain. This is a plateau. Again, I'll draw some grass to kind of show you that a plateau is higher than the ground above around it. A plateau has tall, steep sides like a mountain, but is flat on the top. Next, we have plains. Plains are a large area of flat land with not many trees. So it's just a lot of open space and flat land. A hill is a landform that's raised, like a mountain is raised, but it's not as high as a mountain. It's smaller than a mountain, and it's usually not as steep as a mountain either. And if I go back, I could show you some pictures. Let's find hill. Where is hill? Here's a hill. Look at this image here. This shows you, oh, that's a mountain. Look at how high and steep. And this is like a little hill. All right, hills are kind of smaller. They're still raised above the land, but they're smaller. And then we learned about valleys. Remember, a valley goes right in the middle of two mountains or two hills. And I sang you that little song. I said, ain't no mountain high enough. Tells you mountains are high. And ain't no valley low enough. Valleys are low pieces of land that usually come in between two mountains or two hills. And you can see that right here in our drawing. A valley is the very low part in between two mountains or two hills. Next, we had a peninsula. Remember, a peninsula is a landform that is almost completely surrounded by water. It's not totally surrounded like an island, but almost. It still is connected to land a little bit. Remember the picture we drew? I made sure that this peninsula was still connected to the land over here. All right, it's not totally an island. See how this peninsula is still connected to the land right over here? There's water here on this side, water over here on the front side, and water over here. There's no water over here, though, in the back because it's still connected to the land over there. Then we talked about islands, and an island is completely surrounded by water. I would love to go to an island and put my beach chair in the sun and enjoy the nice weather and all of the water around it. An island is completely surrounded by water. And then we got into the bodies of water. Yesterday we talked about a river. And a river is a large stream of water that's running right by the land. It's not surrounded by land, kind of like a peninsula isn't surrounded, but a river goes between land. And then we talked about a lake. A lake is a large body of water that is surrounded by land. It's right in the middle of, say, some mountains or some plains or just land in general. Let me find a picture. Here's a river. See how it kind of flows? It goes down. It's not totally surrounded by land. There's land over here and there's land over here, but there's not land on either side. It's not completely surrounded. And then we talked about a lake. If I look at a lake, this lake is completely surrounded by land. The next body of water we're going to talk about today is a pond. And you might think, oh, I thought that was a lake. But no, it's a pond. A pond is very similar to a lake. A pond is an area of water that's surrounded by land, but it's smaller than a lake. So let's write down pond. Pond. A body of water surrounded by land, but is smaller than a lake. That's the main difference. It is like a lake, but it's just smaller. It's like a small version of a lake, a pond. So my drawing might be a little bit similar to my drawing of a lake here, but I'm going to really try to show that it's much, much smaller. So it's probably not going to be in between mountains. It might be in someone's yard. Okay, let me get my blue. Where's the blue? And here's the grass all around it. And sometimes we have ducks swimming in ponds. Sometimes there's little critters in a pond. Even sometimes little fish. In a lake, you would find bigger fish and bigger animals living in there. In a pond, you might find some small critters. So you can draw a picture of a pond however you would like. Make sure it's just smaller than a lake and that it's completely surrounded by land. I'm going to try to draw a duck. That wasn't too bad. Well, that was supposed to be its eye. There's its legs. That could be its wing. Oh, that was not very good. But you get what I mean. Okay, a pond is pretty much a small lake. And our last body of water we're talking about it's a nice one. I wonder if you've ever been to one. It's an ocean. Oh, I love, love, love the ocean. An ocean is a large body of salt water covering 3/4 of the earth. 3/4 means more than half of the earth. So it's covering more earth than land. We have more water, more oceans on our planet than land. Isn't that kind of crazy? Look at all of this blue you see on the earth. That's all ocean. Look at all of that. I see a lot more blue and white than I see of green, don't you? All of that blue is the ocean. So an ocean is a large body of salt water covering 3/4 of the earth. And to write 3/4, you could write 3-4. And I capitalized Earth because it's the name of our planet. And if you've been into an ocean before, you would notice that it is pretty salty. You do not want to swallow water from an ocean. I mean, you wouldn't really want to swallow water from a pool either, but ocean water, ugh, it's all salty. And different animals live in salt water. And that's something we'll get into even in another science topic later in the year. But different kinds of animals and fish live in an ocean compared to a lake. Some animals need to live in a saltwater environment, kind of like a shark. So I'm going to draw an ocean. And to draw an ocean, I'm going to draw big waves. A lot of water, big waves, and I might even draw a little beach to kind of show that it's an ocean, it's not a lake, it's not surrounded by land. Here's my beach chair again. There's my chair. And here's the sun. And this is my ocean with all of the waves. And oceans keep going and going and going. They are not surrounded by land. All right, I'm done with that for today. Tomorrow we'll get into our next lesson.